Peace, family. Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Mad at God Media, right back at you once again with another GMOGMedia Spotlight. All right, family, with this topic, I want to talk about the so-called Independence Day. All right. So basically, today marks the day for Juneteenth. All right, I'm going to break that down for you guys who are not familiar with the holiday of Juneteenth. And also, I'm going to break down 4th of July, so-called Independence Day for North America, and why blacks need to understand the history behind Juneteenth, all right, and 4th of July and the significance about where our ancestors came from during that time. All right, so first of all, a lot of people, especially when it comes to Independence Day, black people, we celebrate that holiday mindlessly. Most of us, I'd say a lot of us, don't really understand and know the history behind Independence Day, 4th of July. Okay, every year blacks they pop firecrackers, pop fireworks, barbecue. They're just happy to have a day off, basically. But they don't really understand and know the true history behind 4th of July and who it really represented. So I'm gonna break this down for you guys. Number one, your ancestors were enslaved. That's just number one. That's the basic thing, all right? So during that time of Independence Day, 1776, we were still enslaved. Our ancestors were still enslaved, okay? We were living in a climate where overt racism, white supremacy was running amok. All right, family? And if you're new to the channel, family, this channel is about counter racism, all right? There's platforms and there's media outlets and there's focus groups about counter intelligence, counter terrorism, but you rarely see or hear anybody talking about counter racism, and this is what this channel is about. All right, so please subscribe. Anyhow, Independence Day for black people, 4th of July. Black people, again, we celebrate that holiday mindlessly, and we don't really know the true facts behind the holiday. All right, and again, I pointed out that our ancestors were still enslaved during 1776, the so-called Independence Day for North America. So I'm gonna get right into it, family. I'm gonna read a quote about Independence Day from Frederick Douglass. This is from, and the link is in the description from when I'm reading this from. This is from realclearpolitics.com. Quote, "This 4th of July is yours, not mine." He continued, "You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in your joyous anthems is inhumane and sacrilegious irony. It's not light that needed but fire," he added. "It is not the gentle shower but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake." All right, family. And basically, what Frederick Douglass is talking about, and I'm going to quote some more things from the website. Basically, he's saying that the holiday belongs to the Anglo-Saxons, right? The so-called dominant white society, right? And another thing that's noted in this article, family, is that what they're saying is, I'm going to read this quote, "The founders hadn't done everything right, but the message of the Declaration was unmistakable, and it was up the Americans in the 1850s to find the fortitude and what they do to know to be right. The Declaration," Douglass proclaimed, "is the ring bolt of the chain of your nation's destiny." All right. And also what they say in the article is this: "All that and more was visiting on the nation in a 4-year civil war, which ended slavery but did not end the white notions of racial superiority codified in Jim Crow. And so, a century after Gettysburg, tens of thousands of freedom-loving Americans assembled the National Mall to hear Martin Luther King Jr. describe a country where Americans wouldn't be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." So, like I said, with this particular story by Real Clear Politics, they break down the significance of so-called Independence Day, and they get a quote from Frederick Douglass saying that basically this holiday is yours, not mine. Doesn't belong to me whatsoever, has nothing to do with black people whatsoever. Mind you, our ancestors, your ancestors, if you're black, were still enslaved. All right. And also with Juneteenth, the so-called ending of slavery, right? And I'm going to read to you a quote, right, about Juneteenth. And the link is down in the description of where I'm reading this from. In the early 20th century, economic and political forces led to a decline in Juneteenth celebrations. From 1890 to 1908, Texas and all former Confederate states passed new constitutions or amendments that effectively disenfranchised blacks, excluding them from political process. White-dominated state legislators passed Jim Crow laws, imposing second-class status. The Great Depression forced many blacks off farms and into cities to find work. In these urban environments, African Americans had difficulty taking the day off to celebrate. From 1940 through 1970, in the second wave of the Great Migration, more than 5 million blacks left Texas, Louisiana, and other parts of the South for North and West Coast, where jobs were available in the defense industry for World War II. As historian Isabel Wilkerson writes, the people from Texas took Juneteenth Day to Los Angeles, Oakland, Seattle, and other places they went. So basically, family, the so-called ending of slavery, Juneteenth, which is June 19th, blacks couldn't even celebrate that damn holiday. We were so disenfranchised and marginalized, we were trying to look for jobs, okay? And if you go back into one of my older vlogs, I talk about why the black family structure is on life support. Again, you have an issue where you're looking for jobs, right? Black families are totally broken in this system that we live in today. And the fact that we're trying to celebrate a holiday for the so-called ending of slavery, and we can't even focus on that because we are trying to get our stuff together in our own household. All right. So that particular holiday doesn't mean anything whatsoever for black people, because we're still disenfranchised till this day. We're still marginalized till this day. It may not be as overt as it was back in the day, as even 40 years ago, but we're still being mistreated on a daily basis by the dominant society. And those are just facts. All right. So again, family, know your history. It's that simple. All right. You're taking 4th of July off, and I'm pretty sure many black people are going to take that day off and celebrate, so-called celebrate, pop fireworks, go to a theme park, whatever the case may be, but at least know your history. So if you are a person that's like, okay, well, I've been doing it for years, that means you're following tradition blindlessly, but at least know about the background of the so-called Independence Day, 4th of July, and Juneteenth, which a lot of black people don't really know or acknowledge, to be quite honest. So know your history. Once you know your history, everything else will make more sense to you. And that's what I try to bring to this channel, family. And for me, yes, myself, now I'm going to be going out on 4th of July because it's a day off, but at least, right, I'm doing the due diligence to look at my own background, look at my own history, say, okay, this holiday doesn't add up for me whatsoever. It doesn't add up for black people collectively as a group whatsoever. All right. And the thing is, when you do that, once you understand and know your history, it makes more sense to you in finding out the true solution for this system that we're living in, which is systematic racism, white supremacy. And you begin to focus on how to eliminate racism with the system of justice. It's just that simple, family. All right. So it's very simple. Know your history, understand what you're following, understand the traditions, the so-called tradition that you're trying to follow. Know the history and the background about that, and then it will all make sense to you in the long run. All right, family. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Again, this is Chauncey, aka Ukarema, GMOGMedia. More content is coming to the channel. I thank you for all the new subscribers. Keep checking me out. Updates. I do weekly updates on issues that affect Black people collectively as a group. And all I do is offer suggestions. I don't claim to be a scholar, historian, nothing like that. I'm just an average person like you, but I do things based off observation. Once I observe something, I come up with suggestions on what I think that may solve the issue. That's all I do on this channel. And feel free to comment down below on what you think about 4th of July and Juneteenth and what you will be doing that day, and have you learned anything else besides what I said about Juneteenth and the 4th of July and all that stuff. Leave your comments down below, family. All right, family. Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, signing out. Peace.